This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. The Justice Minister says those behind the attempted bomb attack in Lurgan are wedded to destruction.
It doesn't feel to me like there's any uptick. There's no particular intelligence to suggest that that's the case. This just seems to be a very sad group of individuals who aren't capable of moving on.
Northern Ireland's bowel cancer screening programme lags behind the rest of the UK.
I'm wondering, would I have made it to 60 if I hadn't got the GP and the circumstances at the time?
The PSNI may have violated international standards when it obtained 2 local solicitors' phone data. With road deaths here at a 17-year high, the PSNI calls for motorists to take responsibility for their actions. The Armagh Planetarium marks NASA's manned launch to the moon with their own vision for the future.
2 draws for both the Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland football teams last night as the realisation sets in that neither will be at the World Cup finals this summer.
At times it was unsettled today with outbreaks of rain. Will it be a drier day tomorrow and towards the Easter weekend? I'll have the details shortly.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday's programme. The Justice Minister says dissident Republican groups still have the capacity, ability and desire to carry out attacks on police, despite their small numbers. Naomi Long visited Lurgan police station today, where a hijacked car with a crude explosive device inside was left on Monday. The driver had been threatened. He would be shot dead if he didn't deliver it. The minister says while there have been no concerns about an increase in dissident activity, those involved are wedded to destruction and violence. Michael Fitzpatrick has this report.
The Justice Minister came to Lurgan today to thank officers for keeping people safe as they continue to investigate the attempted attack on the town's police station. The device, which was left here after a delivery driver was hijacked in the nearby Kilwilkie estate, was found to be a crude but viable improvised explosive device. Police believe it's highly likely dissident Republicans were behind the attack.
I think there's always an attempt in the run-up to Easter for people to flex their muscle and, you know, I just think it's a bit sad, if I'm honest. It doesn't feel to me like there's any uptick. There's no particular intelligence to suggest that that's the case. This just seems to be a very sad group of individuals who aren't capable of moving on.
Naomi Long said it was important to thank officers for their work in the wake of the incident.
We know that there's a small number of people who are still wedded to violence. We know that that's the case, and the police do an excellent job in suppressing and disrupting that activity, which is why we don't have these incidents happening more frequently. Nobody is complacent about the level of risk and the level of threat, and yet every day officers come to this building and others like it.
The attack has been widely condemned by political leaders across Northern Ireland and in the Republic.
I think what we've seen in Lurgan is deeply chilling and deeply concerning, and I take very seriously what the PSNI say. The dark history needs to be left just there, and it is a reminder of the fact that we can never ever let our guard down.
The police are continuing to investigate what happened here on Monday evening and have already described this attack as reckless and cowardly. They have appealed to anyone with information, no matter how insignificant, to contact them. Michael Fitzpatrick, BBC Newsline, Lurgan.
Now, this is Johnny Dillon, a GP who's recovering from bowel cancer. And this is one of his patients, Marie McGrath, who was diagnosed at 52. If she'd lived in England, Scotland or Wales, she would have been screened earlier at the age of 50. Dr Dillon says he's angry that our screening programme lags behind the rest of the UK. Northern Ireland is also the only region not to lower the level at which traces of blood in a home screening test trigger further investigation to detect more bowel cancers earlier. Here's our health reporter, Aileen Moyna.
Dr Johnny Dillon has always been fit and healthy and enjoys running. But 2 years ago, after becoming unwell, he was diagnosed with bowel cancer. He was 49.
It was a huge shock. I didn't have any bowel symptoms, so to be told that a bowel condition might be what we're dealing with really did surprise me. But I got bowel investigations which then showed that I had a large tumour on the right side of the bowel.
While Dr Dillon was young to be diagnosed with bowel cancer, figures from the Northern Ireland Cancer Registry show 11% of people diagnosed are under 55, and that number is increasing.
Thanks for coming up today. So, how are you coping? How are you feeling today?
Dr Dillon's patient Marie was diagnosed with bowel cancer in January. She's 52. If she lived in England, Scotland or Wales, she would have been screened at 50. But in Northern Ireland, screening doesn't start until 60.
I'm wondering, would I have made it to 60 if I hadn't got the GP and the circumstances at the time? Had my symptoms maybe been put down to irritable bowel, for example, that could have been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing for a much longer period of time. And what would my chances have been then? Does that scare you? Very much so.
But it's not just the age at which people are called for screening that is different in Northern Ireland. The level at which a screening test triggers further investigation is also higher here.
I'm calling for the age to be brought down in Northern Ireland from 60 down to 50, and also for the level at which you get further investigations to also to be reduced in line with England, Scotland and Wales. That will pick up cancers or pre-cancers at a much earlier stage.
Northern Ireland is falling dangerously behind on bowel cancer screening, I'm afraid. There are fewer opportunities to diagnose bowel cancer early. If bowel cancer is diagnosed at its earliest stage, more than 9 people in 10 will survive it. It's treatable, it's curable if it's diagnosed early.
The Department of Health said work to expand the bowel screening programme in Northern Ireland is ongoing, but must be viewed within the context of wider financial and capacity challenges. Aileen Moyna, BBC Newsline.
Well, Aileen is with me now. So, Aileen, is it all about money?
Well, Tara, mainly it would appear so, but it has been said to me a number of times today, it would be penny wise but pound foolish not to bring in changes to the bowel cancer screening programme. Like, we're always highlighting the importance of screening and that people should go for their screening test because it does save lives. And these changes being called for would mean detecting cancer in people younger and earlier with far better outcomes. But let's look at the money. I understand expanding this programme would cost around £1 million per year. But when you consider there are around 1,350 new cases of bowel cancer each year, a quarter of those are diagnosed at a late stage, likely needing surgery and chemotherapy at a cost of roughly £35,000. Now, if you do all the maths, that's nearly 12 million. So the figures speak for themselves. So really it would be cost effective in the long run to bring in these changes.
While screening is for people who don't have symptoms, what are the symptoms?
Well, Tara, the main symptoms include changes in bowel habits, blood in your poo, tummy pain, a lump in your tummy, bloating, if you're losing weight without trying, and anemia, which can be caused by bowel cancer. If you have any of these symptoms for 3 weeks or more, please see your GP. Don't wait to be screened. And if you receive a home screening kit in the post, don't ignore it. It can help detect cancer or pre-cancer through polyps which develop into cancer at an early stage when there are no symptoms and when treatment can be more effective.
Good advice indeed, Aileen. Thank you very much. And you can find out more on this story right now on our website or by downloading the BBC News app. Now, 2 UN human rights experts have stated the PSNI may have violated international standards protecting lawyer-client confidentiality when it obtained the phone data of 2 Northern Ireland solicitors. The Chief Constable, John Boucher, has previously issued an apology to the solicitors involved. Here's our crime and justice correspondent, Julian O'Neill.
Dara Mackin has been involved in several high-profile cases. His more recent clients have included NECAP, and in 2013 it's known that the PSNI obtained data from his phone. He says the police action was unlawful and it also involved one of his colleagues, Peter Corrigan. Their case has been taken up by 2 UN special rapporteurs who raised it with the UK government in January, but nothing's been heard back.
They were required to respond to the findings and the concerns and the proposals and the protocols, and what they do, they ignored it completely. They were given 60 days by the UN Special Rapporteurs to put forward their version, where the UK government and the PSNI didn't respond. And I think that speaks volumes.
The case of the two solicitors was uncovered last year in an independent review of PSNI surveillance. It found the targeting of their communications data had been made on a questionable and flawed basis and resulted in the UN experts asking if the PSNI had violated international protections covering lawyers and client confidentiality. The solicitors have welcomed the intervention, which they say in this case is unusual.
It has become the norm for the United Nations Special Rapporteurs to have to intervene in states such as Russia, such as Belarus. It's at a present day when the United Nations Special Rapporteurs have to intervene in this jurisdiction, given the threat to the rule of law and the threat to the independence of lawyers and judges.
The solicitors say they've sought more information from the PSNI themselves, but they're still unclear about what data was collected over how long a period. They've also signalled an intention to take the PSNI to court. Julian O'Neill, BBC Newsline.
Road deaths here are currently at a 17-year high. The head of road safety for the PSNI has said significant change can only happen when society as a whole takes responsibility for our driving behaviours. The number of people killed on the road so far this year is 20. That's the highest number for the first 3 months of the year since 2009, when the number was 21. Richard Morgan has this report.
We're just doing a few road safety checks here today, and I'm just checking if you've got a copy of your licence on you.
Taking a moment to remind drivers of their responsibilities.
Everyone thinks that the knock on the door is not going to happen to them, but it can. This year alone, 20 families are now living without a loved one.
Speed is one of the main causes of collisions, and with a weather warning in place for this weekend, there is concern the message isn't getting through.
In January and February, we had 2 weather warnings where we were telling motorists that be careful on our roads. And during those 2 weather warnings, we detected nearly 800 people speeding.
Hundreds of people are still driving without seatbelts. Hundreds more are caught using their phones. It's no secret the PSNI is under financial pressure.
We're just doing a few checks today, basically for road safety. What's your name?
So can they effectively police our roads?
Internally, my teams and districts maximise our chances of being visible on the road to ensure that we are out there detecting and enforcing the Road Traffic Act. However, significant change can only be made when the driver actually takes full responsibility and drives within the law.
Yeah, Roger, thank you, mate. Nope, you're all good there.
As many of us prepare for the Easter getaway, we're all being told to think before we get behind the wheel. Richard Morgan, BBC Newsline.
One person has been taken to hospital following a fire at an industrial estate outside Omagh in County Tyrone. The blaze at an animal bedding company was tackled by 10 fire engines, an aerial appliance and 2 water tankers. It's anticipated that firefighters will remain at the scene for the next number of hours. Now, it looks stunning in these pictures, but Derry City and Strabane District Council is asking for the public's help to transform the riverfront along the Foyle. It's all part of the City Deal project, costing more than £300 million. Here's our North West reporter, Kieran Turish.
The council says the Central Riverfront project will be a transformative scheme for the heart of the city. £45 million is being spent on redeveloping the quay, and the council wants the public to offer their ideas.
I walk here every day and I'd love to see more seating areas, and you see the Foyle should be used a bit more.
More activities for the kids for the summer when the weather's nice, and more picnic benches, maybe like we play activities, we play park or something.
I think they're as fine as it is, to be honest. There's definitely better places. I think the money could be spent. Even like people are crying to get into GPs all the time, they're dentists. Like, why is this not put into public health, or even like infrastructure and roads, or there's people, homeless people lying up the street.
The public feedback will help the design team come up with a final draft.
The council says this is not like a traditional engagement where a final design is presented for approval. Rather, it wants to hear from local residents and business owners about what they'd like to see developed along the riverfront.
We've seen through COVID, you know, an increase in footfall of cyclists, walkers and everything in the city. People are really starting to celebrate and use the riverfront, so it's now making the areas much more attractive.
Major new developments along the riverfront are already planned as part of the wider city deal, costing £300 million. That includes a purpose-built medical school for Ulster University.
There's a lot of really quite ugly buildings along here. So I think the general principle of improving the look of the riverfront, making more use of it, bringing the university into contact with the urban centre, those things are all very good. The question is whether it goes far enough and whether it is financially fully funded.
There's no doubting the attraction of the riverfront when big events take place, like the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race or the Maritime Festival. But the council wants to see more people out and about, enjoying its transformation in the years ahead.
Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
There are now almost 21,000 newcomer pupils in schools here who don't have English or Irish as a first language. That's a rise of around 60% over the past decade. And student teachers have been finding out how best to support those children. Our education correspondent Robbie Meredith has more.
Our schools have become much more diverse over the past decade. And that's something that has been clear even to students starting out in their teaching career.
You see that in primary schools now, with children learning about Eid and Easter at the same time, and Ramadan and Lent. You know, it's very powerful to see children being interested in each other's and appreciating each other's religions and cultures at the same time.
These kids need to feel that sense of belonging, a strong sense of belonging, and they need to feel respected by their peers and especially by their teachers. And it's the teacher's role to emphasise that to the other pupils in the class, to make that person feel respected.
The number of newcomer pupils in our schools has gone up substantially over the past decade. In 2015-16, there were almost 13,000 newcomer pupils. This year, that has gone up to almost 21,000, a rise of 60%. Laura and Leah were among student teachers taking part in activities with primary pupils from many backgrounds to learn from each other, in a scheme organised by the Safara Educational Charity.
One of the things we're really passionate about is helping these young teachers understand that many of these children have faced trauma as they've left Afghanistan, Ukraine, Iran, Somalia, and many of these children have faced trauma, and so helping them feel this sense of being loved and valued and safe within the classroom is really, really important.
Last year I had 3 newcomer pupils in my classroom. 2 were from Afghanistan and 1 was from Iran. Lovely young boys, and they were just so eager to learn, to be involved, and it was just so obvious that they didn't want language, or they weren't fluent in English at the time, and they didn't want language to be a barrier for them.
Northern Ireland has changed, and it's in our classrooms that some of that change is most apparent. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
In Florida, right now, NASA is preparing to launch the first crewed space mission in 50 years on the spacecraft Artemis 2. And this is the view of the Earth the crew will see on their way to orbit the Moon. A bit closer to home, Armagh Planetarium is marking the event with some young space enthusiasts. There are major plans there to transform the site that was founded in 1790. Cormac Campbell has been finding out more.
3, 2, 1.
Getting ready for a relaunch. For 2 centuries, Armagh has been home to an observatory. Since the 60s, it's also boasted a planetarium, where young and old get excited about galaxies far, far away.
We draw all the planets. And how I just draw 6, 7 moon.
Did you know there's a rocket launching in America tonight that's going into space? What do you know about that?
Beautiful.
Oh wow!
It's going to go around the moon.
Plans are now being drawn up to rebuild the planetarium, including a new viewing dome.
The next generation of technology. The same technology is being used by the Sphere in Las Vegas, where U2 played. In fact, we'd be happy for U2 to come here when we open up. The original planetarium was actually opened as Apollo was heading to the moon. We want to do the same here in Armagh as humanity returns to the moon.
But tonight it's about Artemis, not Armagh.
That will take 4 people
make a loop around the moon. It will be a flyby mission. They won't land to the moon. They will fly very close to the moon and then they will come back. This whole mission will take about 10 days.
We're going to be watching the launch here in the observatory, but also because we've got these telescope facilities, we should be able to actually track the spaceship as it's heading towards the moon. But as it sets itself off to the moon, we plan on, setting up some telescopes, seeing if we can't follow it the whole way.
That mission blasts off at 11:24 p.m. Armagh's rebuild mission will take a little longer. Cormac Campbell, BBC Newsline, Armagh.
Turning to sport now, Thomas is here. Northern Ireland and the Republic played those games they didn't want to play.
I know. It feels like nearly a punishment prize. You haven't gone to the World Cup, so we're going to make you play these friendlies or these games that nobody really wants to watch, nobody really wants to see, and certainly people don't want to play in. And that, of course, is after the disappointment of missing out in the World Cup. Both sides had to take part in international friendlies. In Dublin, the Republic of Ireland played out a scoreless draw with North Macedonia, while in Cardiff, the Northern Ireland football team played Wales. It finished 1-1, with manager Michael O'Neill unhappy with clubs who raised concerns about his dual managerial role with Blackburn Rovers.
A conflict of interest with him being in charge of English Championship side Blackburn Rovers and having several players from other Championship clubs in his international squad.
I'll always try to protect the players. I don't want the players coming here and it affecting their club situation. So it was a little bit disappointed with that, because I didn't get a phone call from any of the managers.
Now, Graeme McDowell has revealed he is considering rejoining the DP World Tour to play in the Irish Open later this year. GMAC, as he's known, is a former major champion, but he's been unable to play European Tour events since making a controversial move to Live Golf League. However, things are changing, and recently several Live players have been allowed to return under compromise arrangements. Steve Motson reports.
Graeme McDowell has been playing in the Live Golf League since 2022. The move brought huge financial penalties imposed by the DP World Tour. But after a recent shift in relationships between the tours, he's considering a return.
November, I didn't take my membership of the DP World Tour because it was the unknown fines coming into 26. So I had my fines are all paid off. I'm sort of at a zero level with the DP World Tour. There is a May date where you can approach the European Tour and ask for a membership, which is at the discretion of the CEO. At that point, I'd ask them, what they'd want me to do. Clearly, I miss the Irish Open. I miss being able to play a few of those events in September, October. So I'll certainly ask the question and see what that looks like for me.
McDowell, who recently had 2 holes in 1 during consecutive Live tournaments, still has big Ryder Cup ambitions. As a player, he produced some unforgettable moments at the event, but knows a lot has to change if he's to play any part at next year's Ryder Cup in Ireland.
He's holed it. Would you believe it? He's holed it. People will say that I don't deserve to be there. I've made my bed. I'll sleep in it, which is true. And I understand the reasons why their manner may not happen. And I've made my peace with it a little bit, But of course, I'm disappointed. But it's just politically, I can't believe 4 years later we're still here. We're still at such a contentious point when we need to bring the game back together in some way, shape, or form.
McDowell hoping the Ryder Cup door can reopen, but for now will concentrate on his Live golf schedule. Stephen Watson, BBC Newsline.
Very lastly this evening, the latest episode of the GA Social podcast is out now on YouTube and BBC Sounds. This is the guy, he is our guest, the great Matty Ford of Wexford. He scored 47 goals throughout his career, one of the best forwards of his generation. Podcast available now wherever you get them.
Thomas, thank you very much. Well, the morning's looking lovely. A bit of cloud, but some blue skies. How's the rest of the week looking, Barry?
It's all changed, I'm afraid. We've got more rain tomorrow. We've got stormy conditions the weekend and even some snow in the forecast for Sunday. Yes, so as we head towards the Easter holiday weekend, unfortunately, it's all a bit up in the air, I'm afraid, in terms of settled conditions. Not very much tonight. Well, it's going to be quite chilly. We still have a few isolated showers through this evening, sinking south. Where the skies clear tonight, we could see -2 or even -3 degrees, especially inland and away from the coast. So some frost developing where we have those clear skies. So a cold start for everyone the first thing tomorrow, but a dry start with some early sun. It's not going to stay that way. More rain is going to come in from the Atlantic, but we should get most of the morning, if not into the afternoon, largely dry, especially towards the east, with the best of the sunshine perhaps. But as the next weather front then begins to come in from the Atlantic, we're going to see the southerly winds pick up, the skies turn grey, and the rain, well, is going to push its way eastwards through tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. It's going to be a cooler day as well as a result. Temperatures at best just 8 or 9 degrees, so not a great end to the day, I'm afraid. There will be quite a bit of rain. It will linger for a while too as we make our way overnight into Friday before eventually clearing away from the west. Temperatures tomorrow night shouldn't be quite as low as tonight, with more cloud and cover around. We're looking between about 6 and 7 Celsius. So a milder start to Good Friday, a largely dry start too with some early sun, but again, it's not going to stay that way. Low pressure is dominating. It will be bringing some patchy outbreaks of rain, but it is set to turn drier with clearer skies by the end of the day and maybe a chilly night overnight into Saturday. So this is the picture first thing on Friday. We'll see some patchy outbreaks of rain out there, a bit of a wind, and then we'll begin to see that clearing away. So it should brighten up with some late sunshine before the end of the day. Highs still around about 12 degrees at best towards the east coast. Now, if you have any plans for the outdoors this weekend, unfortunately, it looks as though we have potentially some stormy weather heading this way. Winds are going to get much stronger through Saturday and overnight into Sunday. A Met Office weather warning has already been issued for that. After that, the sunny spells and a few wintry showers perhaps on Sunday.
OK, no Easter cheer from you, Barra. Thank you very much. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30. Until then, you can keep up to date with the BBC News NI website and Radio Ulster. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.